My name is Elena Martinez, and I'm 28 years old. For 12 years, I lived in a basement. No windows, no sunlight, no school, no friends, no birthday parties, no Christmas mornings, nothing. Just four concrete walls, a mattress on the floor, and the sound of my family living their perfect life above me. My parents told the world I died in a car accident when I was 6 years old. They held a funeral. They accepted condolences. They put flowers on an empty grave every year on my birthday. Meanwhile, I was 15 feet below them, counting the cracks in the ceiling and wondering what I did to deserve this. For 12 years, I believed I was cursed, that I was dangerous, that I deserved to be locked away. Then, one night, when I was 18, my parents made a mistake. They forgot to lock the basement door. I heard the doorbell ring. I heard laughter upstairs, my brother's 16th birthday party. I crept up those stairs for the first time in 12 years, and through the kitchen window, I saw him. A pizza delivery guy, maybe 20 years old, brown hair, tired eyes, holding 6 boxes of pizza. He saw me too. Our eyes met through the glass. I was pale as paper, skinny as a skeleton, wearing clothes I'd had since I was 12. I looked like a ghost, because to the world, I was one. I couldn't speak. I'd almost forgotten how. So I did the only thing I could. I mouthed 2 words. Help me. He didn't deliver the pizza that night. He delivered my freedom. Before I tell you what happened next, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I promise you, this story will stay with you forever. Now let me take you back to the beginning, to the day my parents decided I needed to disappear. I was a happy child once. I know that's hard to believe given what I'm about to tell you. But for the first 6 years of my life, I was loved. Or at least, I thought I was. I remember birthday parties with pink balloons. I remember my mother brushing my hair and calling me her little princess. I remember my father carrying me on his shoulders at the county fair. I remember being happy. Then my brother was born. Lucas came into the world 3 months premature. He spent his first 4 months in the NICU, fighting for every breath. The doctors said he might not survive. Then they said he might not walk. Then they said he might have developmental delays. My parents were devastated. They needed someone to blame. They chose me. It started small. Comments here and there. If you hadn't been running around while I was pregnant, Lucas would be healthy. Your father was so stressed about your school play that I went into early labor. This is your fault, Elena. You know that, right? I was 6 years old. I believed them. I started apologizing constantly. Sorry for existing. Sorry for being born first. Sorry for not being the son they really wanted. But apologizing wasn't enough. Nothing I did was ever enough. The day everything changed, I was playing in the backyard. Lucas was 6 months old, finally home from the hospital, but still fragile. My parents watched him like hawks, terrified something would go wrong. I was playing with my doll near the swing set when I tripped, fell hard, started crying. My mother came running out, saw me on the ground, and her face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Pure hatred. "Stop it!" she screamed. "Stop crying! Your brother is trying to sleep. Everything is always about you, isn't it? Always demanding attention, always taking away from Lucas." I tried to stop crying. I couldn't. My knee was bleeding and I was scared. She grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave bruises, and dragged me inside. "Richard," she called to my father. "We need to talk. About her." They sent me to my room. I heard them arguing for hours. Words like problem and dangerous and what if she hurts Lucas floated up through the floor. I didn't understand. I loved my baby brother. I would never hurt him. But they had already decided I was a threat. That night, my father came to my room with a flashlight. "Come with me, Elena." Quietly. He led me down to the basement. I'd never been down there. It was dark and scary, and my parents had always said it was off limits. "You're going to sleep down here tonight," he said. Just for tonight. Until we figure some things out. But, Daddy, it's dark. I'm scared. He looked at me with empty eyes. You should be scared, Elena. There's something wrong with you. Something dangerous. We're doing this to protect Lucas. To protect the family. He closed the door. I heard the lock click. I screamed and cried and banged on the door until my hands bled. Nobody came. Just for tonight became 12 years. I want to pause here because I need you to understand something. I was 6 years old. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand that what my parents were doing was evil. I just thought I was bad, that I deserved to be punished, that something really was wrong with me. Children believe what their parents tell them. That's what makes this kind of abuse so devastating. If you're watching this, and you've ever been made to feel like you were the problem, like you were broken, dangerous, unworthy of love, I need you to know something. It wasn't true. It was never true. You were a child, and the adults who were supposed to protect you failed you. Type "not my fault" in the comments if you've ever had to unlearn the lies your family told you about yourself. Now let me tell you what 12 years in a basement looks like. The first year was the hardest. I cried constantly, screamed until my voice gave out, begged and pleaded every time someone opened the door. My mother would come down once a day with food, not meals, just enough to keep me alive. Bread, water, sometimes leftover scraps from the dinner table. "Please, Mommy," I'd cry. "I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Please let me come back upstairs." She'd look at me with cold eyes. "You can't be around Lucas, Elena. You're dangerous. The doctors said so." The doctors never said that. I know that now. But at 6, 7, 8 years old, I believed everything. I stopped fighting after the first year. What was the point? Nobody was coming to save me. Nobody even knew I existed. My parents told the world I died in a car accident. They held a funeral. I found out later. It was beautiful. White flowers, a small casket, hundreds of mourners. My grandparents came, my aunts and uncles, teachers from my kindergarten class. Everyone cried for the little girl they thought was dead. And I was in the basement, listening to their footsteps above me, wondering why no one could hear me screaming. I learned to survive. The basement was maybe 400 square feet. Concrete floor, concrete walls, one bare light bulb that my father controlled from upstairs, a mattress in the corner, a bucket for a toilet. That was my world for 12 years. No windows, so I lost track of time almost immediately. I didn't know if it was day or night, summer or winter. I'd count the meals to track the days, but sometimes they'd skip a day, and I'd lose count all over again. I had nothing to do. Nothing to read, nothing to play with, nothing to look at. Just 4 walls and my own thoughts. Do you know what that does to a child's brain? To spend years with zero stimulation, zero education, zero human contact beyond a mother who looks at you like you're garbage? I talked to myself, made up stories, created imaginary friends who lived in the cracks of the walls. And then, when I was maybe 9 or 10, my mother made a mistake. She left a newspaper in my food tray. I don't think she meant to. It was probably just used to wrap some scraps. But I grabbed it like it was treasure. I couldn't read. I'd only been in kindergarten when they took me. But I stared at those letters, those shapes, and something in my brain started working. Over the next year, using old newspapers and food packaging, I taught myself to read. It was slow, painful. I'd spend hours staring at a single word, trying to figure out what sound it made. But eventually, the shapes became letters. Letters became words. Words became sentences. Reading saved my sanity. I'd beg silently for newspapers. Whenever one ended up in my tray, accidentally or otherwise, I'd read every word 100 times. Advertisements, sports scores, obituaries, weather reports. I didn't care. It was all magic to me. I learned about the world through those scraps of paper. A world I'd been erased from. A world that had moved on without me. My only friend was a spider. I know how that sounds. Crazy. Pathetic. But when you're completely alone for years, you find connection wherever you can. She appeared in the corner of my basement when I was about 11, just a small brown spider, building a web between two cracks in the wall. I named her Hope. I'd talk to her every day, tell her about the stories I made up, the words I learned, the dreams I had about the outside world. She'd just sit there in her web, doing spider things, but it didn't matter. She was alive. She was there. She was mine. When Hope died after about 2 years, I cried for 3 days straight. My mother thought I was finally losing my mind. Maybe I was. But Hope had kept me human. She'd given me something to care about besides my own survival. I never had another spider friend, but I never forgot her either. Above me, life went on. I could hear everything: footsteps, laughter, music, arguments. I knew when Lucas had friends over. I knew when my parents threw dinner parties. I knew when it was Christmas because I could hear carols playing. I learned the rhythm of their lives without being part of them. Lucas was the center of everything. Even though his health improved as he got older, my parents treated him like he was made of glass. Everything revolved around him: his needs, his wants, his future. I heard my mother gushing about his first steps, his first words, his first day of school, his first soccer game, his first girlfriend, all the firsts I never got to have. Sometimes I'd hear my name. Not often, but sometimes. "Remember when Elena was alive?" my father would say. "She would have loved this. They talked about me like I was dead." Because to them, I was. The worst was my birthday. Every year, on June 15th, I'd hear them leave the house together. I learned later they were visiting my grave, the empty plot where they'd pretended to bury me. They'd come home crying, talking about losing Elena and what could have been. Then they'd walk right past the basement door where I sat, very much alive, listening to every word. That was the cruelest part. They hadn't lost me. They'd thrown me away. And they'd convinced themselves I was gone so they wouldn't have to feel guilty about it. I want to stop here for a moment. Some of you might be wondering, didn't anyone notice? Didn't teachers ask questions? Didn't neighbors see anything? The answer is no. My parents were smart, calculated. They planned everything perfectly. We lived in a rural area, no close neighbors to notice strange sounds from the basement. My parents were respected members of the community. My father was a deacon at the local church. My mother volunteered at the hospital. Everyone thought they were saints. Brave parents who'd lost a daughter tragically and somehow found the strength to keep going for their son. Who would suspect them? And Lucas, my brother, he was only a baby when I was taken. He grew up believing I'd died before he could remember me. He didn't know I was beneath his feet for his entire childhood. He was a victim, too, in his own way. Manipulated by parents who'd turned him into an only child by erasing his sister. But we'll get to Lucas later. For now, let me tell you about the night everything changed. I was 18 years old. I'd been in that basement for 12 years, more than 2/3 of my life. I'd stopped hoping for rescue years ago, stopped banging on the door, stopped screaming. What was the point? I was dead to the world, and the world was dead to me. I spent my days reading whatever scraps I could find, talking to myself, doing exercises to keep my body from completely wasting away. I'd accepted that this was my life, that I'd die in that basement and nobody would ever know I existed. Then came October 15th, Lucas's 16th birthday. I heard the preparations all day. Footsteps running around, music being set up, my mother's voice directing everything. It was going to be a big party, I heard her say. 30 people were coming. Around 7 p.m., the guests started arriving. I could hear car doors, laughter, the chaos of teenagers. I lay on my mattress and listened, as I always did. Then I heard something I'd never heard before: the basement door rattling. Not opening, just rattling, like someone had bumped against it. I froze. "Don't go down there, honey," I heard my mother say to someone. "That's just storage. The bathroom is down the hall." Footsteps walked away. The party continued. But I noticed something. The rattling had knocked something loose. The lock, the old, rusty lock that had kept me prisoner for 12 years, was hanging at a strange angle. My heart started pounding. For 3 hours, I stared at that door, listening to the party wind down, waiting for everyone to leave. Finally, around 11 p.m., the house went quiet. I heard my parents go to bed, heard Lucas talking to someone on the phone in his room. I crept toward the door. I pushed. It opened. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. I hadn't seen the upstairs of my own house in 12 years. I didn't know what was up there anymore. Didn't know if I could even walk that far. My legs were weak from years of no exercise, no space to move, but I had to try. One step, then another, then another. The stairs creaked under my feet. I froze every time, terrified someone would hear. But the house stayed quiet. I reached the top, pushed open the door to the kitchen, and I almost collapsed. It was so bright. Even with just the moonlight coming through the windows, it was brighter than anything I'd seen in over a decade. My eyes burned. Tears streamed down my face. I stumbled into the kitchen, overwhelmed. There was a world up here. A real world, with counters and appliances and windows, and the doorbell rang. I ducked behind the counter, heart hammering. Who was here at 11 p.m.? I peeked around the corner. Through the window beside the front door, I could see a guy in a red polo shirt holding pizza boxes. Young, maybe 20, brown hair, tired eyes. The pizza delivery. Someone must have ordered late-night food. I heard footsteps upstairs. Lucas, probably going to answer the door. I should have hidden. Should have gone back to the basement. Should have pretended none of this happened. Instead, I stood up. The pizza guy was looking at his phone, waiting. Then he glanced up. Our eyes met through the glass. He froze. His mouth fell open. I can only imagine what he saw. A skeleton of a girl, pale as death, wearing clothes that were falling apart, with wild hair and terrified eyes. I looked like a ghost, because I was one. I couldn't speak. My voice hadn't been used for real conversation in years, so I did the only thing I could. I pressed my hand against the window, and I mouthed, "Help me." His name was Marcus Thompson. He was 20 years old, working his way through community college by delivering pizzas. He was tired. He was bored. He was thinking about his chemistry exam the next day. Then he saw a ghost in the window. Later, he told me what went through his mind in that moment. I thought I was hallucinating. You looked like something from a horror movie. But your eyes were so scared, so desperate. I knew something was really, really wrong. He didn't panic, didn't run away, didn't convince himself he was seeing things. He pretended to look at his phone. He walked back to his car like nothing had happened. And he called 911. "I'm at 4527 Riverside Road, delivering a pizza. There's a girl in the house. She looks like she's being held prisoner." She mouthed, "Help me through the window. Please send someone. Please hurry." The dispatcher asked him to stay on the line, to wait for police. Marcus did something even braver. He went back to the door and rang the bell again. Lucas answered this time. "Hey man, I didn't order more pizza." "Oh, sorry, my mistake." Marcus smiled, casual, while his heart was pounding. "Wrong address. Have a good night." He walked away slowly, normally, like nothing was wrong. But he positioned himself at the end of the driveway, where he could see the house, where he could make sure nobody left before the police arrived. And he waited. 3 police cars showed up 8 minutes later. I was still in the kitchen, frozen, when the sirens appeared. I heard my parents scrambling upstairs, heard my mother screaming. "What's happening? What's going on?" The police knocked on the door. My father answered. "Officers, is there a problem?" "Sir, we received a call about a possible emergency at this residence. We need to come inside and make sure everyone is safe." "That's ridiculous. There's no emergency here. My son and I were just going to bed." "Sir, we need to come inside, now." I heard scuffling, arguing. My mother's voice, high-pitched and frantic. "You can't just barge into our home. We have rights! Then a flashlight beam swept across the kitchen and found me. The officer who found me was a woman named Detective Sarah Chen. She told me later that she'd been on the force for 15 years, seen horrible things, thought nothing could surprise her anymore. Then she saw me. I'd never seen anything like it, she said. You were so thin, so pale. Your eyes were huge in your face. You looked like you'd been underground for years. She approached me slowly, like I was a wounded animal. Honey, can you hear me? Are you okay? I opened my mouth, tried to speak. Nothing came out but a croak. It's okay. It's okay. You're safe now. Can you tell me your name? I tried again, forced the word out through a throat that had forgotten how to make sounds. Elena. Detective Chen's face changed. Elena? Elena Martinez. I nodded. She turned and screamed for backup. Because Elena Martinez had been dead for 12 years. The next few hours were chaos. More police arrived, then ambulances, then news vans. I was taken to the hospital, wrapped in blankets, surrounded by people asking questions I couldn't answer. My parents were arrested. I watched through the ambulance window as they were let out in handcuffs. My mother was sobbing, still trying to maintain the lie. She's not our daughter. Elena died years ago. That girl is an intruder. My father said nothing, just stared straight ahead with empty eyes. Lucas stood on the front lawn, surrounded by police, looking completely destroyed. He kept saying the same thing over and over. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. She's my sister. I didn't know. And Marcus was still there, sitting on the hood of his pizza delivery car, giving a statement to police. When the ambulance drove past him, our eyes met again. I mouthed 2 words. Thank you. He smiled, and I saw tears on his face. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital. Malnourishment, muscle atrophy, vitamin D deficiency so severe my bones were like chalk, psychological trauma that would take years to even begin to address. But physically, I survived. Against all odds, I survived. Dr. Eleanor Hughes was assigned to my case. She was a trauma specialist, one of the best in the state. She'd worked with kidnapping victims, cult survivors, prisoners of war. But she told me later that my case was different. Most victims are taken by strangers. She said, you were taken by the people who were supposed to love you most. That kind of betrayal, it changes the brain in ways we're still trying to understand. Eleanor didn't treat me like a patient. She treated me like a person. She sat with me for hours, even when I couldn't speak. She brought me books, real books, not newspaper scraps. She opened the curtains and let me see the sun for the first time in 12 years. It's going to hurt, she warned me. Everything is going to hurt for a while. Your eyes, your body, your heart. But I promise you, it gets better. You get stronger. You learn to live in the light again. I didn't believe her at first. I'd spent so long in darkness. I'd forgotten light existed. But Eleanor was patient. She visited every day. She became my doctor, my teacher, my friend, and eventually, the mother I never really had. Okay, I need to pause here and ask you something. Have you ever had someone enter your life at your lowest moment and change everything? Someone who saw the broken pieces of you and said, let's put these back together? Type Eleanor in the comments if you've had someone like that. Someone who saved you when you couldn't save yourself. And please, share this video. Someone watching right now might be in their own basement, maybe not a physical one, but a dark place they can't escape. They need to know that rescue is possible. Now let me tell you about rebuilding a life from nothing. The trial was national news. Everyone wanted to know how 2 respected parents could keep their daughter locked in a basement for 12 years, how no one noticed. How such evil could hide behind a church-going, volunteer-working, PTA-attending facade. My parents' lawyers tried everything. Mental illness, temporary insanity. They truly believed she was dangerous. Monday. None of it worked. The jury saw the basement. They saw the bucket I'd used as a toilet. They saw the mattress I'd slept on for 12 years. They saw the scratches on the walls where I'd counted the days. They saw M.E. Thin, traumatized, struggling to speak in complete sentences. The deliberation took 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Child abuse, false imprisonment, fraud, child endangerment. My mother got 30 years. My father got 25. When the verdict was read, my mother screamed at me across the courtroom. "You were supposed to stay hidden. You ruined everything. I wish you'd never been born." The guards dragged her away. I sat there, Eleanor's hand in mine, and felt nothing. I'd wanted to feel satisfaction, justice, closure. Instead, I just felt empty. My mother had wished I was never born. Maybe she'd always felt that way. Maybe that's why it was so easy for her to pretend I was dead. Eleanor squeezed my hand. "You survived," she whispered. "That's your victory. Not the verdict, not their punishment. You. You're still here. And you're going to do amazing things." I wasn't sure I believed her, but I wanted to. Recovery was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than 12 years in a basement. Because in the basement, I'd adapted. I'd shut down everything that hurt and learned to exist in a kind of numb survival mode. Now I had to wake up, feel things, deal with 12 years of trauma, while also learning how to live in a world I didn't understand. I'd never been to a real school, never used a computer, never had a friend my own age, never been to a movie, a restaurant, a mall. I was 18 years old, but in many ways, I was still the 6-year-old who'd been locked in that basement. Eleanor helped me through all of it. She got me into a special education program for trauma survivors. She tutored me herself when the classes were too overwhelming. She took me to my first movie. I cried through the whole thing. The screen was so big and bright and loud. She introduced me to her family, her husband, Tom, her kids, Michael and Sophie. They welcomed me like I was one of them. For the first time in my life, I understood what family was supposed to feel like. Marcus came to visit me in the hospital. 3 weeks after the rescue, he showed up with flowers and a nervous smile. "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I'm the pizza guy." I remembered. "Thank you," I managed to say. My voice was still raspy, still weak. "You saved me. I didn't do anything special. I just called the cops." "No." I grabbed his hand. "You saw me. Everyone else looked right through me for 12 years. You saw me. You believed me. You saved me." He started crying. "I almost didn't call," he admitted. "I almost convinced myself I was seeing things. If I'd just delivered the pizza and left. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." We sat there in silence for a while. "Can I visit you again?" he asked finally. "I mean, if that's okay. I want to make sure you're all right." I nodded. He visited every week after that. Then twice a week. Then whenever he could. Marcus became my first real friend. Not imaginary, not a spider. A real, human friend who chose to be in my life. He didn't treat me like a victim or a freak or a curiosity. He treated me like Elena, like a person worth knowing. 10 years later, he's still my best friend. He was there when I graduated high school at 22. He was there when I got my psychology degree at 26. He was there when I opened my own practice at 28. He's the brother I never got to have. The family I chose for myself. Speaking of brothers, Lucas reached out to me a year after the trial. I didn't want to see him at first. He was part of them, part of the family that had kept me locked away. Even if he didn't know, he was the reason they'd done it. But Eleanor encouraged me to hear him out. "He was a child too," she said, "manipulated by the same people who hurt you. At least listen to what he has to say." We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Lucas looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. Weight loss. The look of someone who hadn't slept in months. "I'm sorry," he said before I could speak. "I'm so sorry. I know that's not enough. I know nothing will ever be enough. But I need you to know. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "How?" My voice was hard. "How could you not know?" I was right below you for 16 years. They told me the basement was dangerous. Structural issues, toxic chemicals, whatever excuse they made up. I wasn't allowed down there. Ever. He was crying now. They told me you died before I was born. I had no reason to doubt them. They were my parents. They were my parents, too, and they buried me alive. He flinched like I'd hit him. I know. I know. And I hate them for it. I hate myself for not seeing it, for not hearing you, for having a life while you. He couldn't finish. We sat in silence for a long time. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he finally said. I'm just asking for a chance to know you, to be your brother. The brother I should have been for 16 years. I looked at him. This broken boy who'd been turned into an only child by parents who'd decided one kid was worth keeping and one wasn't. He was a victim, too. Different from me, but still a victim. I can't promise anything, I said. But I can try. That was 6 years ago. Today, Lucas is one of the most important people in my life. It took time, years of therapy, both separate and together. But we built something. A real sibling relationship, born from the ashes of our toxic family. He visits me every month, calls me every week, shows up for every important moment. He's not the golden child anymore. He's just my brother. And that's enough. Let me tell you where I am now. I'm 28 years old. I have a doctorate in clinical psychology. I specialize in childhood trauma and abuse recovery. I've helped over 200 survivors in the past 3 years. Kids who were hurt by the people who were supposed to protect them. Adults still carrying wounds from childhoods they barely survived. I understand them in a way most therapists can't, because I've been there. I've lived in that darkness, and I found my way out. My practice is called Hope, named after a spider who kept a lonely girl company in a basement. Most people don't get the reference. That's okay. I know what it means. Dr. Eleanor is retired now, but we still have dinner every Sunday. She's the grandmother my kids will know someday. The mother I chose when my biological one threw me away. Marcus runs his own restaurant now. Turns out he always wanted to cook, not just deliver other people's food. I'm his most loyal customer. Lucas is married with 2 kids. He brings them to see their Aunt Elena every holiday. They call me Auntie Sunshine because I always say how beautiful the light is. They don't know why I say that. They don't need to know. Not yet. Last month, I gave a TED Talk. Rising from the Basement, Finding Light After Darkness. I told my story in front of 2,000 people. Millions more have watched it online. I was terrified. Speaking in public, being seen, still doesn't come naturally to someone who spent 12 years being invisible. But I did it anyway. Because somewhere in that audience, somewhere watching online, there's someone in their own basement. Maybe not a physical one, but a dark place they can't escape. A family that's convinced them they're worthless. A prison built from abuse and manipulation and lies. They need to know the door can open. They need to know rescue is possible. They need to know that even after 12 years of darkness, you can learn to live in the light again. At the end of my talk, I said this. My parents tried to erase me. They told the world I was dead. They kept me in darkness so long. I forgot what sunshine felt like, but they failed. I'm standing here today, alive, successful, surrounded by love, because one pizza delivery guy saw a ghost in a window and decided to believe what he saw. It only takes one person, one moment, one open door. If you're in darkness right now, hold on. Your pizza guy is coming. Your door is going to open. And when it does, I promise you, the light on the other side is worth every second of waiting. If you're watching this and you've survived something impossible, I see you. If you're watching this and you're still in your basement, I believe you. If you're watching this and you want to be someone's pizza guy, someone who notices, someone who calls for help, someone who saves a life, then do it. You never know when a ghost in a window is waiting for you to see them. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it meant something to you, Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment telling me about your pizza guy, the unexpected person who saved your life. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, no matter how long you've been in darkness, the light is still out there. You just have to hold on long enough for someone to open the door.